Working with Excel invariably involves working with formulas. In this particular worksheet called Formulas in the workbook Creating Formulas and Functions, we need some totals in row 4. And glancing at the numbers, you could almost make the case for saying, well, the numbers are so simple, we can write down the answers. Our profits are going to be 20 here. We're just going to subtract the 2, and here it's going to be 30. But I think you would recognize that in some worksheets, the numbers are going to be much, much larger. And certainly here and there, we need to do more than just simple subtraction. One aspect of writing formulas that at first might seem a little strange is that we will not be typing the numbers 120, the numbers 100. We're going to be referring to these numbers by their locations. And the big advantage of that is that if at a later time, if the numbers need to be adjusted, our formulas do not need to be altered. And there are 3 major ways to write formulas. Let's start with equal, and they all begin with the equal sign, by the way. And the most common way probably is to begin with the actual cell address, which is B2. In other words, we want the sales entry minus the overhead entry. So that's in cell B2 minus B3. You don't have to capitalize the B. And as soon as we press enter, we will see an answer. The real content of this cell is not 20, it is the formula, and you'll see it up in the formula bar. If you want to see it a bit larger with a little bit of help, you can simply double-click here and not only see the formula, but also see a colored reference to the cells in question. Let me delete this. Another technique begins with the equal sign, but now in its advantage is we don't have to type addresses. We're going to use the arrow key twice to select this cell, then press minus, then the up arrow to this cell, and enter. Might seem a little awkward at first, and it's certainly not very efficient if the cells referred to are hundreds of rows away. Nevertheless, in some situations, it can be reasonably fast. A third way involves using the mouse and keyboard together, which makes it sound not too efficient, but it can be pretty fast too. Equal, use the mouse, click on cell B2, put in the minus on the keyboard, and with the mouse, click cell B3. Here too, we're not typing addresses. Same formula, same answer as we've seen before. What if the overhead number here, as it turns out, is incorrect? And maybe someone forgot an expense and this should have been 125. We'll change this to 125. And as I press enter, we're going to get a different answer. The formula is doing what it's supposed to do. It's subtracting those 2 cells regardless of their content. And if I change this back to 100, as soon as I press enter, we're going to see a different result, the same one we saw before. Now, in later movies, we'll see a technique for repeating this formula in adjacent cells. We certainly don't want to have to write this formula all over again, and if we had 12 months, it'd be all the more work. Let's shift the focus into column H here, where we want to do a total. And based on what we've seen so far, you would imagine, for example, typing equal B2, or possibly clicking on it, plus C2, and I'm not going to finish this, but I think you get the idea here, plus D2 plus E2, and so on and so on and so on. And how much fun is this going to be if we have 12 months of data? This will work. It's certainly not efficient. Let's show you a better way. One better way is to use a function. Now, in Excel, there are over 400 functions built in. Many of them are shortcuts for well-known formulas, statistical functions, database functions, quite a few different categories. We simply want to add up a bunch of numbers. The function we're talking about is called sum, S-U-M. Anytime you begin an entry with the equal sign, as soon as you type a letter, for example, the letter S, we get a pop-up list of all functions beginning with that letter, and quite a few of them here. And just by seeing some of these, you get a sense of some of the capabilities. But here's sum. If you happen to click on it, you'll see a description of it. If we want to type this, we can continue doing that or simply press tab. The next step, not so obvious, but we need to select these cells here, either by dragging left to right or right to left, but hold down the left mouse button first. So I'm holding down the left mouse button as I click in cell G2, drag leftward. That notation style means add up all the cells from B2 through G2. And we don't have to type the right parenthesis. When we're only using a single set like this, we'll simply press enter. So that's a total, and much simpler and easier than adding up the 6 different cells. Now, if we'd like to do an average here, an average of those first 6 months, an average is we add up cells, and then we divide by the number of entries. Well, we've already done the addition here, so let's refer to that. Equal this amount, the 1505, divided by, we use the slash symbol, divided by 6. Enter. So we're using common operators here, slash for division. In our initial formula over here, we used minus for subtraction, and sure enough, we'll be using plus at some point, and also an asterisk for multiplication. Many formulas are straightforward, easy to use. And again, many times you're going to see large worksheets. You're trying to figure out what's going on. Simply by clicking on a cell, looking in the formula bar, you get a better sense of the formulas that exist within a worksheet.